everyone. My name is Dr. Kristina Kelman, and I work at the Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane, Australia. And I'm really pleased to be able to spend the afternoon with these amazing students of mine from Australia and talk a little bit about the work that we've been up to. To hopefully start a conversation with the APME members about the wonderful benefits of project-based learning as student enterprise, and hopefully open up a conversation that we can invite people to talk a little bit more about the types of experiences they're offering in their institutions. So here at QUT, I started a student record label, and it's, I think, the first one in Australia, but don't hold me to that one. And I published a book earlier in the year called Music Entrepreneurship, Professional Learning in Schools and the Industry. And so my research interest is always been, as a learning designer, how do my students maximize their learning experiences? And this is always, I believe, my philosophy is that it's done through a really messy real world approach. So it's an environment that's got high stakes, real world outcomes, and affords the opportunity for students to make mistakes, to come together to solve those problems, and then to also to come together and enjoy the successes and rewards of the work that they do. So I thought maybe we would just jump straight into it, and I've just asked my students to reflect on a few different topics today. Okay, so my first topic that I wanted to talk about was, what are the challenges and the benefits of this kind of project-based learning?
Well, I'm happy to talk to that one. I think, firstly, there's a couple of really, really clear pros. First and foremost, it's real. I think that's something that you can't discredit, the fact that as a student, you can get in and actually work on real projects with real artists and with real outcomes and things that happen and impacts on the industry that you see around you. So that's a really, really cool thing. And I think, it's especially with COVID looking forward, a lot of these sort of music organizations or arts organizations are probably going to be operating at reduced staff, or maybe not offering as many internship positions and that kind of thing. So I think the more that a university can do to create those kinds of real world learning and real on the ground experience for students, then I think the better. And, even looking at internships as well, I feel like plenty of people will go into an internship and they'll get coffees and they'll do data entry and they'll do stuff like that. So even in an internship experience, you're not necessarily working meaningfully on a lot of big projects, which you can be in student enterprise. And again, as well, compared to internships, you think that there's a lot of stakes to perform well and to not make mistakes and to really be at the top of your game, where I think at a university level, at a student enterprise level, it's a bit more flexible, or it's a bit more open. And I like the idea that we've been encouraged to fly and also fall, and roll along with that. So that's been really great. But it's, I guess, onto cons, or onto the challenges. I think it's definitely not without limitations. First and foremost is, like, we are students as well, so we don't know everything, and there's probably lots and lots and lots of times where we sort of hit little walls and we hit little ceilings that we need to try and work past, and we need to try and ideate solutions to get over, which we might not have to do if we were in industry positions. And additionally, I think because students, just by their very nature, are coming in and out every semester, sometimes it's difficult, like establishing continuity in these kinds of student-run record label or student enterprise kind of associations. If every 6 months you're getting a brand new team, then every 6 months the label or the enterprise is looking very different.
Can you just give us a little bit of a rundown on the kinds of things that the team is doing at the record label? And that might justify why it is actually really important to build those relationships with artists, and how we move forward from one semester to the next, and over a summer break and so on.
Yeah. So the label at the moment, we've got 4 Yeah, for artist liaisons, James and myself are two of them. We liaise a bunch of artists. So pretty much in saying that, we are the connection. If they want photos, then we're the people they come to, and we talk then to Carla, and Carla goes to her content creation team and goes, okay, this artist needs these photos, they want this lyric video done, who can do this, who can do that, we have this time limit. Or say if the artist needs studios booked, then we go and book them for them, and say, then we find the producers for that, the equipment. So it's just pretty much organizing what they need and getting it to them as soon as we can with the right resources and the right people, and just building the connections between, like, say the photographer straight to the we're just pretty much setting up the connection from the photographer to the artist. Sorry. So
yeah, and it's super hectic. And I think, James,
yeah.
you've been very instrumental in developing templates that would allow for these processes to remain consistent despite the personnel change.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to roles. I think as a label, we wanted to achieve a bunch of things. We wanted to have artist liaisons that were sort of working with the artists and developing their careers and helping them record and release and get all the collateral and material that they need to do releases. We wanted to have people looking after social media and marketing and doing some PR pitching stuff as well. We wanted to have people working and putting on events, doing live events kind of things. And Vermilion runs a whole bunch of other international projects as well. So there's, team members that need to look after that stuff. And then of course, content creators. So people who are going to make music videos, who are going to do photo shoots, who are going to do graphic design, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's really important that there is that template in place so that when a new team comes in, an artist knows, I need to talk to my artist liaison, or I need to talk to this content creation team leader, I need to talk to this person. And then that way anyone can fulfill that role. I mean, there's always an adjustment because personalities are different and everyone needs to sort of learn how to work well with each other and how to get on. And but I think it's probably the best solution that we found so far, at least. And it's definitely a challenge. I think Izzy is totally right. Like if you have a 6 months where the artist and an artist liaison gets really, really close and they have a really great relationship and they work really well together and get some really good things achieved, it can be quite difficult then to start again and to put somebody new in that position and to build that rapport all over again. So that's an ongoing challenge that we face, but we try and get over it as much as we can.
And James has done a really good job with the templates. So, because we've all been here since the beginning of 2020 so we went with both semesters over the 6 months. But James made it a lot easier continuing to this next semester, and with all the whole new team members, they got it really quickly thanks to James. So
awesome.
Well, thanks to everyone as well.
Guys, and Jen, I might just come over to you for a bit. James, you're a musician. Izzy, you're a musician. Carla, you're a music lover and a filmmaker. Jen, you're an artist on the Vermilion record label, but you also work on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about potentially why it's really a good thing for musicians to actually be experiencing the back end of the industry, as opposed to just having everything done for them?
Absolutely. So I found for myself as an artist, before coming into uni and after, there is so much that happens in terms of reach and engagement and actually creating the music and getting it out there, and what comes after writing the song, that isn't as easily as accessible to independent artists as you would like it to be. And I found working with Vermilion, first of all, even just as an artist, it's very transparent what happens behind the scenes. So I think even if I wasn't on the business team myself, I would still be learning a lot of valuable information because of the templates that the team has made, and the process that they're very transparent in, like, sort of communicating with their artists what's happening, so who's working with your stuff all the time. But I think it's really valuable learning those business skills as organizing for other artists, because then I can not learn just for myself personally, but you know, for the future, if I ever decided to work with other artists or with other record labels, you know, as a daytime job, I have that experience through Vermilion. There's just so much that happens behind the scenes that like I didn't even think of as at all before I sort of joined this team. So it's been a really fast paced learning environment, but I think it's been really, really valuable, and all these skills I'm definitely going to be taking with me. And yeah, it's awesome. I really like it.
Can I ask you a question? Is there something that, I could throw this to all of you. Is there something about working with musicians from the business side of things that's totally been frustrating for you, and that has made you go, well, as a musician, I'm not going to do that?
One small thing I could think of from events is like, I don't know, getting contact info or tech lists, like having to nag someone all the time to get that information. Izzy knows, she's been working with me. It's just having to ask someone like 1,000 times and not getting that communication. I now see as an artist myself that communication with my liaison or whoever it is that I'm working with is the first and foremost most important thing, is just being as quick as you can and being as communicative as you can, because it just gets really frustrating. And it's like the day before the gig and you're still waiting to hear back.
Oh my goodness. And you know, it's just professionalism, isn't it? And I think working at the student record label is first and foremost teaches you professionalism. And actually I could just, like, you guys are such a professional bunch, and I think it's amazing to see the growth. So maybe I could throw to Carla, who's been, she's had a huge team to manage, as particularly this semester. How many film students would you be managing there, Carla?
I think there's like 15 at least, maybe even more. Yeah.
It's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, because last semester we only had 2 film students, including myself. So like it's such a big increase, but it's awesome to see so many people part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about coming from outside of the music discipline into Vermilion, into a music context as students who are graduating as film majors? What have been the highlights for you and the learning curve, I guess? I'm interested to see what it's like to experience this kind of interdisciplinary learning.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before I started Vermilion Records, I didn't know anything about the music industry. I didn't know how releases worked or anything like that. And I haven't only learnt it from staff, but also just working with other students, especially with the music students, I've learnt so much more. And it's cool to be able to kind of collaborate artistically and professionally with other music students and with the artists as well. That's an experience that I just didn't have before. So it's really really awesome to get that experience. And also because a lot of the musicians and the artists are kind of at a similar point in their professional careers. So we're all trying to emerge at the same time, and it's cool to be able to prop each other up in that way. Yeah.
And Carla, do you think that there's value in, do you guys are you building these potentially professional networks, and do you see yourselves working together again after you graduate?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, already last semester, James actually reached out to me and we've been working outside of uni together on a little video project. So that's really amazing, and it's cool to, make those contacts for future. Yeah.
And communicating with musicians, has that been a bit different for you or compared to working with other film students? Is it a whole different ballgame, or is it pretty similar?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, especially we have different terminologies for things, and sometimes someone from music will say something and I have to be wait, what does that mean? Or I'll say something and then I realize I've got to explain it properly, but yeah, it's all challenges that you overcome, and it's just learning, really.
Yeah, and I think that's really exciting, because I think traditionally when we are music students or film students, we're very siloed into our little discipline homes. And I think the nice thing about what we're trying to do here at QUT is really kind of get ourselves working outside of our comfort zones and our disciplines, and
Yeah,
learning the language of other disciplines, because that's
definitely. Yeah.
the future. So yeah, Carla, thank you. What kind of projects, just quickly, have your team been up to?
Yeah, so we've been working on a documentary that we're editing at the moment, which is looking at the return of the live music scene in Brisbane particularly, and how kind of all the restrictions have affected the music industry. And then we've also been working on Vermilion Presents, which is a live session, and we did 5 or 6 artists actually we ended up doing, yeah. And we did that kind of as a framework that can be continued on when new students cycle in, so that it's something that can just be like kind of branded as Vermilion. And then we've been working on a lot of music videos, so that's really exciting. And artists have been having press photos, and there's been photography and videography of live events. So that's been really good. There's been a lot, yeah.
Awesome, thank you, Carla. And so I'm conscious that of the time, because it's really hard to sit still and watch these things for a while. So let's talk about graduation coming up. Are you guys freaking out? like, do you
Yes.
feel prepared? What's going on in your heads at the moment?
I'm a little bit panicked, a little bit freaking out. I'm very excited. I'm hoping to maybe get another internship, hopefully, afterwards, to continue building my skills and assets. I still really want to manage artists afterwards. Sorry. Hopefully that's an option. Otherwise, if COVID wasn't an option, definitely traveling. But I'm not too sure what I'm going to do afterwards. Yeah, that's scared.
In a lot of ways, you guys are all going to have to be pretty entrepreneurial if you want to have these interesting creative careers. So hopefully, working at a student record label, you're developing a sense of what entrepreneurship means. Sorry, James, you had a question?
I think that's a fair assumption. I mean, it'd be hard not to feel a little bit stressed about sort of graduating, especially given the state of the industry that we're walking into right now. And it seems like there's a lot of sort of places where support is being pulled left, right, and center. So that's kind of stressful. But I guess from like a personal standpoint, I don't feel like I'm unprepared. You know, I think that, we've definitely all got some really great skills, and I've definitely seen, just from the people who are on the Zoom call right now, we've all achieved huge things, and we've all done really, really great things, and developed, immensely as practitioners. So I think we've got, you know, it's nerve wracking, but I think out of everybody, we've probably got a pretty good shot, you know, which is good.
Yeah, that's lovely to hear you being so optimistic. Anyone else want to talk about their fears or their hopes for this next step?
I've actually sort of organized myself really well, because I'm not technically graduating at the end of this semester, as I still have my elective units left. So what I've done is I've sort of finished all my core units, the music part of my degree, and I think I accidentally organized that really well, because now next year I can sort of do part-time finishing off my units. And now, you know, I think I want to focus on that entertainment industries or maybe business industry sort of thing, after working with Vermilion, so I can really get into the nitty-gritty of those skills that I want to develop. And with what James was saying, with the climate of the industry, it can be quite scary. So I'm pretty glad that I can sort of ease myself into it next year with part-time uni and then part-time in the industry.
Yeah, very cool. And Jen, and also Izzy, you're in a band with Vermilion as well. I mean, all of these wonderful assets that the team have helped create for you, it's just such a wonderful launch pad for you. You know, you can go out into the world with a bunch of beautifully polished music video clips, great quality recordings, you know, well-written journalism pieces. Like it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think. Would you agree that you can't really learn this kind of thing in a conventional classroom environment?
For sure, 100%. Yeah, it's definitely a hands-on experience to learn like so much. And this Vermilion's helped me in my minor, which is management. Like it's just helped way more than anything else has. So it's really, it's something that can't be taught in a classroom. I think you have to go out and experience it yourself to understand, I think.
Yeah, I'd even say that like like a lot of the reason why I do feel somewhat confident or prepared that I've got a good foot in the door is because of Vermilion. If I didn't have this kind of hands-on, real practical based experience this year, as in my final year of graduating, and it was all just academic stuff, I don't think I would feel half as ready to go out and talk to artists and talk to people and get stuff done. So it's been invaluable.
Yeah, actually, I remember talking to some students that I was interviewing as part of a research project a few years ago who said one of the scariest things was picking up the phone and calling record labels or calling venues or calling booking agents. They were terrified about actually just picking up the phone and talking. But you guys have to do this all the time. So it's not simulated role playing. It's the real deal. So it's pretty exciting. Any thoughts for educators who might want to sort of build this kind of interdisciplinary, project-based, student-run enterprise into their institutions? Because I always look to the students for how I'm going to better refine, what I'm developing in our programs. And so I think your input's really valuable.
I would say, if there are any educators who are considering doing some sort of student-run record label or project, similar to Vermilion, I would say absolutely go for it. And one of the key things to sort of make sure you have in place when putting this together is templates, especially, with what we were saying earlier, with hands changing all the time. It's just like invaluable having sort of a set of expectations, rules, and just like a system for how these things sorts of work, because then you can guide those students into those skills they need to develop, but without being completely lost in no idea what to do with the skills that they're trying to grow. So I think that's probably the most important thing you could do.
I also think with that, connections is also a really big thing. Kristina brought in a couple of people she knew. Chris helped us, one of the connections helped us book gigs, and he's also an artist manager, so he helped us just insights and some information. So I think if you want to get the connections, then you can gain the experience that way as well. So.
I think that's totally true. Leverage any industry connection that you can to give it even more legs to stand on as an organization, and just don't. I think you have to be really conscious about the experience of the students, as Genevieve was saying. It's a lot, I guess, if you come in on day one, week one, and suddenly you're just thrown into this organization which is running and has things that need to get done, and that it's a pretty hectic thing to get your head around. So as much as possible, try and have that structure in place for students and have clear guidance for them so that they can get started and that they can wrap their head around what they need to do to get the thing off the ground or to get these projects happening.
Yeah.
So important.
I walked into Vermilion this semester with a set of KPIs, and I thought they were pretty challenging. And realistic but challenging, but I feel like you guys have surpassed those and have just absolutely gone above and beyond to fulfill more and more than you were asked to. Why do you think there's a high level of, why is there so much motivation for you guys to just work like workhorses when in other units that we engage with, you're flat out getting people to kind of show up,
I think, for me personally, the experience of working in a record label is it's such a rare opportunity for students, and to be given that control and that decision making for this sort of environment. And being given this opportunity, you would be silly not to just grab it and run with it and do everything that you absolutely can while you're still around, you know what I mean? I just think it's such an unique experience to be able to have at university to run this sort of thing, and you'd be silly not to. work hard in it.
And Carla, you're thinking about going into education.
Yeah.
We'll chat recently. What do you think? Because I'm an ex-high school teacher, and I loved my time in working in schools. What do you think? Do you think a project like this is irrelevant for someone who wants to go into education, or do you think it's actually?
I think like it's been amazing because I got the experience of running the content creation team. So I got to learn all of those like leadership skills, and also I've learned how valuable it is to have students do like actual hands-on learning where they're in a real situation of like, someone really wants me to make this music video for their actual song that they've actually released, rather than just like the controlled environment that an assessment sometimes gives. Yeah, so I think it's like something that I'll definitely take with me in future to eventually the classroom to be able to provide opportunities for students. Yeah.
Well, that just excites me so much, because I believe you can do this kind of real world learning in schools. I followed a group of students for 4 years in a student enterprise, as published as I've written about in my book. But yeah, I think it calls for teachers to actually become entrepreneurial, so if you can kind of feel excited and inspired to inspire students yourself, we've got the future of education is in good hands. So, and James, you're thinking about a master's next year?
Yeah, I am indeed. The student record label experience has really it's really opened up a couple of questions in my head. I think about I want to know how effective it is, and I want to know what happens to the graduates a couple of years on. So that's the idea for the master's project. Is I'm going to go and I'm going to track down, and I'm going to interview the artists and also the business people who all spent time as part of a student record label, and I'm going to sort of talk to them about what happened in their careers afterwards, and figure out to what extent the student record label experience had on their success or failure.
Awesome, that's really exciting.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Looking forward to getting on that journey with you there, James. Look, I feel like I've kind of raised everything that I wanted to raise. Would anyone like to offer any last words? And I really appreciate your time, guys.
I think just regarding the motivation, where the motivation comes from, I think it makes a big difference that it's our ownership as well. And I'm sure that that's like backed up by education theory or something, is that when we as students are in these positions, and it's not just us doing something to tick a box on an assessment or anything, it's actually we have these real responsibilities, these real obligations, and these real relationships as well that we need to manage, and nobody wants to let anybody else down. So once it actually comes down on our shoulders in a big way, still with plenty of support and still with plenty of guidance, then I think it's difficult to not feel the heat.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely agree with you with that, James. Hey, with the responsibility, and you don't want to let people down. But also, it's just the fact that it's fun. Like, you meet new friends. Like, it's just fun. Like, kind of thing. You get to create content. Interesting.
Yeah, it's visible. You can really see the fruits of your labor. Hey, like, there's nothing more wonderful. It's different to an essay that you print out and hand in. It's this wonderful reflection back on your hard work. Yeah. Oh, well, that was a very enjoyable little half hour we just spent together. Thank you so much. So thank you down the list, Genevieve, James, Carla, and Izzy. That was amazing. So APME people, these are my wonderful students from QUT Australia, and you can find out a lot more about the work that they do on Facebook. It's Vermilion with 1 L. And also our website is vermilionrecords.com. So I think that's about it, and I might just switch off the recording now. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks.